Hi, my name is Gordon Siegfriedt and I'm a solutions engineer at BP3. Today I wanted to share some tips and tricks for process modeling in Camunda's Cawemo. At BP3 we're big believers in process improvement, but before you can improve something, you have to understand it. Business Process Modeling Notation, or BPMN, gives technical folks and business users a common language for defining and understanding process. Cawemo happens to be BP3's favorite process modeling tool because it's easy to use, collaborative, and free. Today I'll be walking you through an example of what it looks like to model a process in Cawemo with some tips and tricks along the way. Let's get started by creating a new BPMN diagram. In this example, we'll look at mortgage processing. So when you first start with Cawemo, you're starting with just a start point. It's best practice to name everything, so we'll just call this start. And from here, we'll have a chance to build up the diagram from that start point. You can also pull things onto the diagram by dragging and dropping, but generally I find it faster in Cawemo to add things along the way from the previous point. So I'll click on this box here, and so the first step in this process will be create application. Next thing we'll need to do is review the application. We'll need someone to approve this internally and make sure everything kind of checks out. And one thing that you may notice if you're familiar with BPMN is that by default, Cawemo's diagrams do not have swim lanes. I personally think it's important to have swim lanes all the time because it helps you understand who's actually doing the work. So what I'll do before we go too much farther is actually pull a swim lane onto the screen. So that's just a drag and drop action. And from here, it's not entirely intuitive, but this left side box is actually the pool technically, and the name for the lane is going to be just inside of it. And the way we'll end up breaking up this pool is with these buttons over here. So if you select your pool, you'll be able to divide it however you want to. So I can add another lane above what I've got, or I can add one below, or I can simply split what I've got into two. So I think what I'll do here is just add a few different swim lanes so that I can give myself some space to work with. And what I'm going to do now is I'll double click on my top swim lane, and this will be the customer. So probably this customer is logging in on a website. It's possible this is also a bank teller or something along those lines, maybe a customer service representative. And next thing I'll do is I'm going to put this review step in the next swim lane down. And the next thing we'll do is we need a decision gateway, because if the reviewer here decides to deny the application, we're going to take a different path through the process from the one we'll take if the person does approve the application. So once again, let's make sure we name everything. Usually a decision gateway should be marked with a question, so this will be approved. And also we need to put a name on our swim lane here. This will be our loan officers. All right, so let's see. Let's go down the happy path first. So next thing we'll do here is add another activity. And in this case, the bank needs to get a credit score for the applicant. And that's actually going to be a third-party API that we call, which means this next swim lane should be a system lane, meaning this is not a person manually getting a credit score. It's actually all happening behind the scenes. All right, after we get the credit score, next step will be another human activity. In this case, this will be, we're going to assess the risk. And I'll pull this again into its own swim lane. And this one will be assigned to our underwriters. All right, and once that risk assessment is complete, we'll have another decision gateway. So again, this will be another question. Is it approved by the underwriter? And I need to give myself one more lane down below. Oops. And that'll be assigned to our booking agents. And again, I'll give myself a little more space. You can kind of take some time at the end to rearrange things to your liking. But for now, I'll just give myself a little bit of space. And I'll create one more human activity here where the booking agent will have a chance to book the loan after it is approved. And at that point, we will need to do some back-end system updates. So after the loan is booked by that agent, we'll add another step here maybe we'll update our systems of record and send notifications. So those notifications will be sent out to stakeholders. This is another system step, so I'm putting it back in that system lane from before. Oops. So you can see the system lane now has two activities, get credit score and the update SORs and send notifications step. And after this step, we can add an endpoint. So again, I'll just call it end. You could have multiple endpoints in the diagram with multiple names potentially, and that's why that's all there. One other thing that we'll want to do is connect over here as well. So I'm going to add a line here that connects to the end of the process. So if anything does get rejected, I do want to still update our systems of record and send out notifications. So these will simply bypass the remaining human steps, but still send out those final notifications there and update everything. I do also want to label my lines. So approved yes here, approved no, approved yes, and approved no. And I'm adding these all by double clicking. If you missed it earlier, I was adding my swim lane labels by double clicking near the left side of the swim lane. Not the most intuitive thing, but it works just fine. So, so what we've got now is a pretty complete process here. There might be some additional exception handling or additional nuances that need to be added later. But this is a pretty easy to read and easy to understand high-level diagram for creating that new mortgage application. There are several other features in this product that you can use, but in my experience, most processes can be at least initially modeled using just these activity boxes and decision gateways. In future videos, we may go through some of the more advanced features of BPMN, but I hope this gives you a good sense of how to start modeling processes in Cawemo.